And we got audio.
Now we know.
You gotta have that on.
Now we know.
Well, good evening and welcome to this regular meeting for Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. If everybody can please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Grigsby here, Mr. Haynes here, Mrs. McCarthy,
Here.
Mrs. Saxon.
I am here.
All righty. Yeah. Thank you. And Mr. Baca here.
A finalization of the agenda. Is there anything to add or remove?
The agenda is final as presented.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the written summary of the regular minutes for the meetings on August 6th, 2024 and August 20th, 2024.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCarthy, second by Mr. Grigsby. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
and Mr. Baca.
Yes. Okay. Move right into the superintendent's search report.
Excellent. We have a very exciting report this evening, and we'll begin our building presentations, which are always fun to hear what the great things that are happening in our buildings are. But before we get there, we are going to start with Mr. Yunker, who is going to introduce to us some pretty amazing people who work behind the scenes in our district.
You guys come up, Jim. Oh, we're good. Forever, it's strong, and things are the only.
Good evening. Tonight, we are honored to celebrate the exceptional dedication and hard work of a remarkable team whose efforts ensure the safety of both our students and our bus drivers. Although their work often happens behind the scenes, the impact of their contributions to the North Ridgeville City School District is both profound and invaluable. Under the expert leadership of head mechanic and supervisor Tim Kazmarek, along with his dedicated team members John Levinsky and Joey Davis, our mechanic team has demonstrated an unparalleled excellence. Each year, the Ohio State Patrol conducts rigorous inspections on every school bus across the state as mandated by law. To illustrate the complexity of these inspections, the Ohio State Patrol manual spans 128 pages, detailing everything from mechanical components to decal placements. In 2024 alone, there have been 84 inspections performed on North Ridgeville City School buses. Thanks to the meticulous work of Tim, John, and Joey, every single school bus has passed these inspections without a single failure. This achievement mirrors their success in 2023, highlighting their consistency and their commitment to the safety and quality of their work. Tonight, we extend a heartfelt gratitude and recognition to Tim, John, and Joey. Your unwavering dedication plays a crucial role in keeping our students and drivers safe throughout the year. Thank you for your outstanding service for our students. These guys really, I know we talked about it last meeting. It's less than 30% of the buses across, or the districts across the state at 100% passage rate. These guys are here from well before the sun comes up in the morning till well after the sun goes down, making sure our buses remain safe. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Some cupcakes. I would like to introduce the principal of ECLC, Mrs. Andrea Vance, who is going to tell you a little bit about what's going on with our youngest students in the district. Mrs. Vance, thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have the pleasure tonight to speak to you just a little bit and give some highlights to what have we been doing so far with our school year. We had an amazing start, so I'm excited to be able to update you on some of the things that are going on at ECLC. Set my timer here. So I want to start off just by sharing that at our building, we had a phenomenal start to the school year. All of our students that came in, were pretty excited about Flip Flop. We were very excited to have Flip Flop, which if you don't know is the little wavy guy. The kids really enjoy seeing him when he comes in, so, it made a smooth transition with having, our therapy dog Andy. The kids really loved having him there, and it helped, to, deter a lot of those tears, with those first times with the kids being away from, their families. One more. So this year, we are going to be continuing with our school goals. We're not making any adjustments. We're just going to continue to improve on them. One of the things, if you flip to that next slide, that we're going to be focusing on and have added this year is looking at our school culture. So based on our surveys that we did from last year, we really looked at what are some of the areas that we wanted to enhance for this year. Specifically with looking at student, staff, and our families. So one of the big things that we added this year for our students was our fancy lunch, which is a lunch that we do for students if they're cleaning, keeping their tables clean, keeping their floors clean, and being respectful and responsible in the lunchroom. We had our first fancy lunch, which I see in just a moment on the next slide. For the kids to attend. We did have some students who did want to come and dress up. I told them if they wanted to do that, that's perfectly fine. But we just decorate the tables for them. The building goal for our staff, we're really focusing on completing some additional surveys. And our pick-me-up cart, that was one based on our survey that we did for the staff, is going to be coming back again this year. And we are going to be doing something called Stock the Lounge. So some of our parents are going to be donating items to Stock the Lounge. They will be all appropriate items for the lounge that will be stocked for staff. And then for our families, we are going to continue with our family engagement surveys, family fun nights, and then our partnership that we have with Starting Line Church. So we'll be doing a trunk or treat that will be coming up in October. So this is just a quick picture of our fancy lunch. Thank you to our lunch monitors. I talked to our lunch monitors, and Megan Lawson just kind of took the lead on this for me. I bought the tablecloth, some of the decorations, but she went crazy with flowers and everything else. The students were really excited. So each day the students have the opportunity to earn one of the Andy Paws, and then whatever classroom has the most Andy Paws by the end of the week get a fancy lunch. So you can see in the pictures, they were super excited. We did our first one on Friday, so that will be every Friday that we'll have that through the school year. So really excited about that. We are going to incorporate throughout the year. So whoever has the most in the first quarter will have a fancy lunch guest. So that could either be myself, our counselor, and then we're also looking at incorporating some of our either fire, police, or like ambulance people that can come in during our lunch hour to be a special guest. So very excited about that. And we'd love to have our board members. Okay. Our kindergarten screening process, we did really great with that. This year we looked at just KRA data. In addition to that, we had a new component that we added, which was our social emotional component. So we were able to do through play-based some observations to see how students were transitioning from their families, and also just to see how they were engaging in play. That really gave us some great baseline data just to know where to start with not only placement, but just supports that we had in the classroom. And then this year was the first year for preschool that we added an orientation component back. So instead of just having the students come to an open house or start, we actually had, as part of that orientation, the option for families to hear a presentation, but also fill out pertinent paperwork and assessments for the start of the school year. And I was also able to provide a presentation, which I believe, just based on feedback from parents, really helped with the transition, not only being able to get into the school to talk with the teachers, but also to have an opportunity to ask me any questions before school started. Next slide. You can go to the next slide. So right now we have our Ames Web, our ELA, we're working on this week. So we haven't completed that, so I don't have data for that. But this is the first year that ECLC has the Ames Web Math. So we're really excited. And as you can see, based on the numbers there, our tier 1 group is in the green. We have 164 of our students who are in that green area, which is really good to start with our baseline. With tier 2, we have 82 students that fell in that category, and then tier 3 was 47 students. So as you can see, our baseline has been great as far as where we're starting. We still obviously want to focus on all of those areas, and then our hope is that based on our new math curriculum, we'll be able to support not only those students, excuse me, that are falling in that tier 1 category, but also accommodating those in that tier 2 and tier 3. And then one more slide. This is the first year we're using our Benchmark Advanced curriculum. Our staff was able to go through and map out the activities, so we know what we're doing monthly for those. And if you look on the slides, you can just kind of see too some of the, oh, I'm sorry, for our benchmark, you can see some of the activities that the students are doing with the math, which is a new program that literacy, which is a new program that we have. And then if you go to the next slide, we also have a new math curriculum, which is Envision. And all of our teachers are implementing this as well. It's been really interesting being able to see the engagement with the students. There's a lot that's online, but we weren't sure whether or not the students would, be engaged or not, and a lot of hands-on components. So this is just an example of one of the lessons that I was able to capture, that the students were seated, but they were able to come up to the board and actually do the activities that were online, but then on the board, and then also at their seat. So very engaging. Go to the next slide. For our Pre-K on My Way, we are continuing to implement those preschool standards. If you go to the next slide there, we are getting and collecting data from that orientation that I shared before, which has been very neat to have to start the year. And we are also going to be continuing with our 2 assessments that we do each year, which are the CAUSE and the ELA. So we're continuing to collect that data for that. And then if you go to the next slide. We were fortunate this year to have the Little Spots of Feelings and Emotions program. Thank you to Jackie Vance for supporting our preschool teachers to be able to implement this. We've been really trying to look at some social emotional curriculum. Our K teachers are using our Character Strong program, and our preschool are also implementing that, but we wanted something more specific for our little ones to be able to use to identify their feelings. So we're actually going to be having professional development on this on Friday with our preschool teachers. So we're excited about that. All right. And again, our PBIS, we this year were silver status or our silver status and applied for gold. I did find out today that we should be hearing back sometime in October about our status. So we're hoping and keeping fingers crossed for gold for next year. And I kind of talked about some of these other things for PBIS that we're doing, but we're very excited that we have parents that are going to continue to volunteer for our prize cards that we do each week for students who earn enough Andy Paws. Then you can go to the next slide. And then this is just a matrix that we shared with students and also with our families about what our expectations are for the building. And these were all sent home and shared with parents in the monthly newsletters. To the next slide. And then lastly, I just wanted to share, as I was going around to all the classrooms, I was trying to figure out a way to be able to sum up to you how our start of the year has gone. And I figured it was the best way to do that was to be able to hear about what students felt. So I asked students the same question: what's their favorite thing about school? And I went around and just videoed them. So I'd like for you to take the opportunity to listen to what they have to say. Thank you, Brooke, for helping me to put this together. But here we go.
My favorite thing is to play with my friends. I liked everything. My favorite thing to do with talking to my teacher. My favorite thing is learning.
Like play?
Like
Play.
play.
I like to play on toys. pledge allegiance in marching stands. I'm character strong. My favorite thing is to do is lunch at recess. I respect other people good. And I love counting. It's so much fun. And you should have some. So you should look at his whole face. We can play everywhere. So look, you can also go home. When you can also do math. Math is really fun. And bye, guys.
So thank you so much for listening, and hopefully that sums up what we've been doing here at ECLC. Were there any questions?
Can you tell us a little bit about what math kindergartners are learning?
Yes, so right now, with the Envisions program, they are focusing on just using the manipulatives for adding the numbers together. And first, we're starting with recognizing the numbers. So they've been writing the numbers. So like, for example, the lesson that I went in, they were actually writing the number 5. But we do have some students who are well past that. And so they're still able to kind of differentiate for those students who are able to like start to add or, do some of those things. So in the particular class that I went into, they were tracing the number 5, and then that particular student was actually adding, he's doing some multiplication. So a little altered, so on the whiteboard, instead of him tracing and writing the number, he was actually able to put the math facts on his board.
Nice. And when you were doing your presentation, I was thinking about play. And then this last little one was talking about, we can play everywhere. Play all over the place. So play is still very much incorporated in the curriculum for pre-K.
Yes, this year and last year, we really focused on what we call like a soft start. So when students are coming in, instead of just saying, here's a worksheet or here's a paper to just color in, we're really focusing on giving them like either blocks to build or things that are actually going to allow them to use their imagination and coming up with ideas to collaborate and work together. And so I think that's been really beneficial because students are feeling more comfortable and the transition is much smoother. So once the actual lessons begin, it's just so much easier. So yeah, and then we noticed too, like with the screenings this year, there was a lot less tears, and they weren't as anxious because they were actually able to engage in a lot of things that were preferred. And so when they came in, we had stations and things that were set up for them to do, which was, I think, made that transition so much better.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
And if we keep that little guy in all our public forums.
You say that, but he would definitely want, and you can go home. Yeah. When I asked him the things about what he liked, he did have more, but he mentioned every single thing that the teacher had talked about. So, doing the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning, I don't know where that came from, but obviously that just in being in school, he remembered that. And even with Character Strong, those things we know are sticking. And so it's great just to hear that they're paying attention, even though sometimes we don't always think that. Wonderful. Thank you.
so much. Thank you so much.
Do we have any announcements this evening?
I do. I just want to let the board know that we did receive a thank you letter from the endowment funds for our sponsorship back in spring for our whole other golf outing. And then there's another golf outing coming up on September 28th, this one, time sponsored by Citizens for Better Schools, and that information can be found on their Facebook page.
And there's community forum
Oh, yes.
next week.
Community forum is next Wednesday here at 6 p.m. where we will meet our construction team and have a sneak preview of some milestones in that project, as well as potentially some exterior renderings.
It's very,
Very good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hearing of the public, if there's anybody in attendance this evening that would like to address the Board of Education, now is your opportunity. All right, seeing none, I would like to recommend a brief recess so we can celebrate our mechanics, and I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to have to stay for the whole meeting, right? So let's go ahead and take a brief recess and enjoy some food and stuff, and we'll let you go home. Yeah, like you said, unfortunately, the rest of you all have to come back. Okay, we're gonna return to our meeting. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the consent agenda resolution as presented.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCarthy. Second by Ms. Saxon. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon.
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
And Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Okay, finance report, Ms. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Rocco. We have 3 items tonight. First is a resolution to approve the financial reports for August 2024. We also have a resolution for the fiscal year 2025 permanent appropriations. And lastly, we have a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2025 certificate of estimated resources. I move to approve these items in the finance report in 1 reading.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCarthy, second by Mr. Grigsby. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon
Yes.
and Mr. Vaca.
Yes. All right, and moving into other board business with more and human resources for Mr. Haynes.
We have several items to consider under the Human Resources Report. 4 support staff appointments, 14 NREA supplemental contracts, 13 non-NREA supplemental contracts, 1 hourly tutor contract, 3 support staff substitute contracts, 1 unpaid volunteer recognition, 9 certified staff adjustments, 1 certified staff resignation, 4 support staff resignations, 2 support staff substitute resignations. I move to approve the human resources items in 1 reading.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Haynes, second by Mr. Grigsby. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. All right, it's recommended the Board of Education adjourn this regular meeting.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCarthy, second by Mr. Haynes. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mrs. Saxon
Yes.
and Mr. Vaca.
Yes.